Humans are imaginative by nature. When we don't know something, when we don't have all the facts, we fill in the gaps. And that's not a flaw. That's what helped us survive, create, build civilizations. But when we don't understand real science, real history, or how politics and power really work, our imagination doesn't just fill the gaps. It creates entire alternate realities. Fantasies that feel possible because we lack the knowledge to know how improbable, and in many cases impossible, they really are. That's the opening pseudoscience walks through. And in today's world, it's not just a curiosity, it's a business. Pseudoscientific content has become a major path to fame, attention, and money. And people know it, so they create fake evidence. They spin ancient symbols into proof. They call natural formations impossible structures. Not because it's true, but because it guarantees clicks, views, and followers. Their goal isn't uncovering truth. Their goal is monetization. And here's the twist. The fan base built around this content believes they're the open-minded ones. They think being open to every wild theory, lost advanced civilizations, aliens building pyramids, ancient nuclear wars, makes them enlightened. But they're only open to ideas that reinforce what they already believe. The moment real evidence, real science, or real history challenges their worldview, they shut it out. And that's not open-mindedness. That's exactly what it means to be closed-minded. Open-mindedness isn't believing everything. It's being willing to let go of a belief when better evidence shows up. It's knowing how to tell the difference between a real mystery and a manufactured one, between imagination that expands the mind and fantasy that traps it. One of the most dangerous things pseudoscience and conspiracy thinking do is hijack our ability to interpret evidence. When we're trapped in a certain belief system, we don't see evidence for what it actually is. We reframe it to confirm what we already believe. Take climate change. The scientific evidence is overwhelming. But for people caught in a conspiracy mindset, that same evidence becomes proof of something else, like a global plot to control the weather, or signs that the biblical end times are here. It's the same data, the same facts, but funneled through a belief system that transforms it into something it was never meant to be. Or take political power struggles. In reality, there are many different groups competing, often dishonestly, to manipulate public perception for power. That's real. It's messy, complex, and constantly shifting. But conspiracy thinking oversimplifies it. Instead of seeing many factions, people say it's all controlled by one single group. The deep state, the elites, the cabal. One invisible hand behind everything. It's not more enlightened, it's just easier to process. Even in something as raw and real as music, we do the same thing. When artists come from violent places and try to express their reality or escape it, and violence ends up touching their lives, conspiracy thinking steps in again. People start claiming the artist planned it, that it was all part of a ritual to guarantee success. We stop seeing human beings and start seeing chess pieces in someone else's imaginary game. This is what happens when we don't understand complexity, when we lose the ability to sit with uncertainty. We take anything mysterious or tragic or hard to explain, and we force it to fit into a story that already makes us feel smart, safe, or in control. But the truth is, when we twist real evidence into false meaning, we're not getting closer to the truth. We're moving further away from it. Conspiracy thinking spreads like a virus. Not because the ideas are true, but because they're simple, emotional, and easy to repeat. Most people don't have the time, training, or tools to sift through all the data. So when someone shows them a few cherry-picked facts wrapped in a clean, dramatic story, it feels like clarity. It feels like truth. And so they share it, and it spreads. But here's what makes it even more dangerous. The way we relate to people who disagree with us. Once we're inside a belief system, we start judging intelligence based on agreement. People who agree with us are smart. People who challenge us, stupid, blind, brainwashed. Even if the people who disagree with us are right, we assume they're wrong just because they're not saying what we want to hear. And then we fall into the biggest trap of all, thinking that the popularity of an idea proves it's true, that because so many people believe it, it must be right. But these same people will tell you the majority of the public is wrong, manipulated, asleep. They see everyone else as misled, without realizing they're in that same crowd. They know the majority is often wrong, They just don't realize they're part of that majority. They think they've broken free of the herd, but they've just joined a different one that rewards emotional certainty over evidence, simplicity over complexity, and ego over understanding. That's the illusion. People think they've woken up. They see through the mainstream narrative, the lies of institutions, the sleepwalking of the public. They believe they've broken free, that they're finally awake. But they don't realize it was a deep dream, and what they've woken into is just another layer of it. A dream of easy answers, simple villains, and cosmic significance tailored to their ego. It feels real, it feels profound, but it's just another illusion, and they haven't truly awakened at all. To truly wake up means realizing you don't know everything. It means letting go of the stories that comfort your mind and feed your identity. It means questioning not just the world, but your own thinking. Because awakening isn't about discovering a hidden truth that proves you were right all along. It's about discovering how often you've been wrong and still kept going. That's what growth looks like. That's what real awakening is. Real awakening isn't just about seeing through a lie. It's about realizing that the myth we inherited, the one we were told was the literal truth, was never meant to be taken literally in the first place. It's a symbolic story, a teaching tool, a map of inner transformation. But when we mistake it for historical fact, we lose its meaning entirely. We start chasing fantasy versions of the past, arguing over false choices and missing the deeper message. The myth was never about the literal history of human activity. It was about the human condition and how to rise beyond it. The moment we understand that, the dream begins to break. And we finally begin to wake up. Real awakening isn't a light switch. It's not a single moment where everything suddenly becomes clear. It's a journey. A process of shifting your perspective over and over again until what you thought was real dissolves and a deeper picture begins to form. It takes time. Sometimes years. Sometimes a lifetime. And even then, you don't suddenly know everything. That's not what the quest for knowledge is about. It's not about having all the answers. It's about learning to ask better questions. It's about recognizing when something is false, even if you don't fully know what the truth is yet. Awakening isn't the end of the search. It's the start of a different kind of search. A humble one, an honest one. One that doesn't need to cling to absolute certainty to feel safe. Because true intelligence isn't measured by how much you know, it's measured by how willing you are to keep learning. And maybe that journey never really ends. Not even in death. Maybe what we call awakening in this life is just one level in a larger path of unfolding, one stage in a much deeper evolution of consciousness. You don't need to know everything. You just need to stop mistaking non-truths for truth, and be willing to let go when the evidence shows you something new. Here's something most people don't realize. You don't need to know how you're wrong, or even when you're wrong, to understand that you can be wrong. That awareness alone is the foundation of real wisdom. But most people don't start there. They start from the opposite, from the belief that they're already right. And once you believe you're right, evidence stops being a way to learn. It becomes a weapon, a shield, a trap. People demand mountains of evidence when their beliefs are being challenged. But if something agrees with what they already believe, no evidence required. They'll believe it instantly, share it, defend it, not because it's true, but because it fits. And even when you do give them the evidence, real, careful, well-supported evidence, they'll twist it, or dismiss it, or pretend you haven't shown them anything at all. That's because when most people say, "Show me the evidence," they're not looking for truth. They're setting a trap. They're giving you a test they've already rigged to fail, just so they can walk away feeling more certain than before. This is why facts don't change minds, because belief isn't just intellectual, it's emotional. It's tied to identity, community, ego, and fear. People protect beliefs like they're protecting their home, and anything that threatens that structure feels like a threat to their survival. So if you want to grow, if you really want to wake up, don't just ask for evidence. Ask yourself why you believe what you believe. Ask yourself if you'd be willing to let it go